Here we go. Another episode of
Good week.
Duluth Conservative. How's it going, Dave?
Not too bad.
Keeping nice and warm.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent week in this neck of the woods. So we might get snow on Saturday, but 50 on Sunday, so we'll be good to go.
Here and gone, baby.
Yep,
All
that's
right.
typical spring.
For people who don't know about this channel is to talk about news stories that may or may not be shown in Duluth and Minnesota and even nationwide. People in Duluth have a real damper on what they see. I found this out by talking to several people about news articles I'd read or news stories I read, and I had no idea what was happening because the news here in Duluth and in Minnesota in general is just very one-sided. So this show is to maybe make you aware of stuff or talk about things you may want to talk about or get an opinion of a conservative or a couple of conservatives that are in Duluth, Minnesota, and see that there actually are conservatives in Duluth, Minnesota. That being said, shall we get into it, Dave?
There's a lot to go over. A lot of things happening.
All right. And we're going to try to squeeze this into just about an hour. So we'll see if we can do that. We're going to start out with the big topic, the Iranian war, the war that we started with Iran, bombed them, and it's still going on a few days into it. It happened, Friday night, early Saturday morning. So, I really don't like, so I'll give my thoughts on it, and then Dave, you give your thoughts on it, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the things that are going on. I don't particularly like that we bombed them. But I also don't understand the whole geopolitical arena. I don't pay that much attention to what's going on nationwide. I do know I was alive, and we were alive when the Shah of Iran was overthrown back in '79. They took all those prisoners, and we've been basically a perpetual war since then. They've been a huge beehive, but at the same time, kind of along my same lines with Ukraine. They're way over there. We're over here. It's not something I pay that much attention to, and it isn't something that affects us day to day. The interesting thing I saw was they talked about how if we attacked them, they attacked them because they said if they get nuclear weapons, they could then shoot the nuclear weapons off to us and hit the United States. The funny thing is that their initial reaction was to shoot missiles off to everybody they didn't like. They didn't even come. They have nothing that's close to being able to get to us. So when it comes down to, is this good for America? You may be able to get me onto a path where I see it's good, but at the same time, I think this is good for another country that seems to be dictating a lot of our policy, and I don't like that. But we're in it, and hopefully they can get the regime changed, and hopefully they get a government in there that's more like it was before the Islamic group took over. Not exactly like it was, because it was kind of a dictatorship that way too. It would be nice if the people in Iran could actually control what they do and maybe go back to naming it Persia and get a new start. So those are my thoughts on it. What do you have to say, Dave?
Well, I mean, that's the number one job of the U.S. government, is to keep us safe. And obviously they felt that, like you said, Iran can't have a nuclear bomb because they would use it. Now, obviously they can't use it on the U.S., but they could use it on all of our allies. Like mostly it would be Israel, and that's why Israel has taken such a major step in helping with the war. So if we stop that, that's a good thing. Iran has been a pain in the butt to everyone, because if you notice that as soon as we started the war, all of the other countries around Iran started bombing Iran also. They actually started helping. So Iran has been basically the number one problem in the Middle East, since, like you said, the 70s, 78, 79 or whatever. So, instead of kicking the can down the road, let's fix the problem. I think this is the first president that's actually stepped up and decided to fix the problem.
Instead of dropping pallets of money on them, he's dropped bombs on them. Still money, but different form.
You're right.
I think the way that we're going to measure whether this is a good thing or not, or a success or not, or whether we should have done it, is how long is it going to last? How many U.S. casualties are we going to have? How much do we lose when it comes to cost? And a couple of those things are the human lives first of all, but then the money that we're spending on it, and then what did we gain? If you're just causing instability in the region, it's just going to keep going on the way it has been. They need a democracy there. It would be really nice if Iran was taken over by the people. I know a couple people from Iran, nicest people in the world, just like everywhere else in the world. They're the nicest people in the world, but they're not the ones in charge. The nice people don't get to be in charge usually. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So hopefully it would be nice if it was more semblance of something that meant that the people in Iran are making their decisions and doing the things they want and make their country, great, which they can do.
Yeah, and then the secondary things that they fixed was Iran and Venezuela that we took Maduro from. Those were the top two leading suppliers of oil to China. So we drastically hurt them also in the process.
They really created a choke point for them and Cuba. Cuba is basically out of power right now. They actually stopped flights going out of Cuba for a while because they didn't have the airline fuel for it.
Yeah, they shut the power off to the residential people too because they didn't have the oil to keep the lights on.
That's communism. That's what they do. They'll shut it off to the people first, right?
Not themselves, yeah.
So on now a related topic, our much vaunted Omar from Minnesota, not from Minnesota, but represents Minnesota apparently somehow, chimed in on X. Of course, she doesn't have her comments on because, she knows what she's going to get. But it's basically the Iran war is costing taxpayers nearly $1 billion a day, while Trump funds another illegal war. So now this is, I guess, the more than one he's done. I didn't know that. Republicans in Congress are cutting health care and food assistance, which I don't think that's happening. No. And she says, invest in American people, not more endless wars. I agree with that. If they keep going on the way it is, it's $1 billion a day. Sooner or later, they're going to get to the amount of money they've stolen from the people in Minnesota. But it's going to take a couple weeks. So, yeah, if it goes on too long, it's going to reach their fraud level. And then where are they going to go for their money? They can't pack their suitcases full of cash and take it off to all those areas. So it's kind of nail biting for her. She wants to stop this because this is interrupting her cash flow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is supposed to go into her pocket, not bombs in Iran. So
yeah, that doesn't help her.
Yeah.
You've got a great stat you've brought up here. Democrats, just a reminder what Obama did, and impeachment was never brought up as a topic. Syria, 12,192 bombs. Iraq, 12,095 bombs. Libya, 496 bombs. Yemen, 35. Somalia, 14. Pakistan, 3. 26,172 bombs of a total of 3 bombs every hour, every day. And we never heard about illegal war, impeach him. He's a monster. He's being like a king. Yeah, it's just a matter of perspective. Who does it, right?
Right.
Okay. Some things people may not be paying attention to in Minnesota, but it's an interesting thing is in Texas, there was a primary and a lot of stuff happened. Dan Crenshaw, also known as Eye Patch McCain, I've heard him called, was knocked out in a primary. And Jasmine Crockett, who has lost her seat because of redistricting, now is trying to run for this, and she didn't win her primary either. The interesting thing is, so Dan Crenshaw lost to Steve Toth or Toth. How do you say that name?
Toth, T-O-T-H, I guess.
Yeah. Unwavering fighter of school choice, fiscal responsibility, and the next generation of Americans. So he's not been endorsed by Trump, but I don't know. It sounds pretty good to me. What I've heard so far, and obviously this is a Texas thing, not a Minnesota thing.
Right.
But Jasmine Crockett, she got beat by a guy named James Talarico.
Tellerico.
He's Tellerico. He sounds like a full-on lunatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I saw a thing where he was talking in front of Congress, and he was like, he was saying there are more than 2 biological sexes. In fact, there were 6.
Yeah.
And saying that the point is that biologically speaking, scientifically speaking, sex is a spectrum and oftentimes can be ambiguous. However, it got explained to him that, and the reason he's giving us is there's X and Y chromosomes. So XX is female, XY is male. But there's also other combinations of people. So XX, XYY, XXXY. But what those are is variants, and they're mutations. It's not a different sex, it's just a different mutation of that chromosome line. So he just talks out of his rear end, pretty much.
Yeah, and he said he was very evangelical. They almost made him sound like like he was part of the church, like a priest.
Oh yeah.
I haven't confirmed that, but
yeah. So you know what, Jasmine Crockett, this guy, the Democrats are putting forward the same person basically. So instead of hearing the nonsense that Jasmine Crockett's been spouting for the last few years, if he wins, then we'll hear the nonsense he's got to spout for the next few years. Again, that's Texas. So,
but Chicago did the same thing. They took the mayor, said he was horrible, and then put a guy in that was worse.
Yeah. So they always seem to find somebody worse.
Yeah. So you got Crockett, who's horrible, and then they find this guy who's said, "Oh, God is non-binary," and he's actually worse.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you find somebody worse?
They just keep doing it. It's kind of amazing, isn't it?
They're very good at that.
Yeah, and then I also heard that Jasmine said that it was there was voter fraud. So another reason to vote the SAVE Act to get, let's stop this fraud. Jasmine, I'm with you. Let's stop the fraud. Let's get voter ID in place.
Yeah.
All right. One more. Two more things. No, one more thing. In Texas also, Al Green and Kristi Menefee are headed to a runoff. So Al Green is that guy that looks like he works for Geico, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the one that was at the State of the Union address with the sign, right?
Yeah. So the last two, so he got thrown out of the one last year and this year. So this is the second time he's pulled up a banner and gotten thrown out of the speech. So
it'd be great if he got primaried out too. Again, is the next guy worse? Who knows?
Yeah, I couldn't find much information on, but the new guy is 37 and Al Green is 87 or 79 or something like that. He was really old. It's like, I know you're going to probably find somebody worse, but let's somebody else in that's not going to embarrass you. So,
right. And the last thing in the top news stories is Kristi Noem has been replaced as the head of the Department of Homeland Security. So she's been removed as a secretary of that, moved into a different location. Somebody else is taking over for her. And I don't know if there's much to say about that. Don't start downloading that.
No.
I don't know if she was fired or she was reassigned. It depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, you don't know what the complete reason is behind, and so it is what it is. We'll have to wait and see what actually happens to figure out if that was a good move or a bad move. So,
right. I snuck another one in here too, which I thought was really interesting. A New York bill would ban AI from answering questions related to medicine, law, dentistry, nursing, psychology, social work, engineering, and more. So as soon as the AI got good enough, the people charging you $400 to $1,500 an hour want to protect their jobs, and that's what it's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been doing this for what, 10 years, 15 years. It's been answering these questions, WebMD and stuff like that. But now it's getting a little too good. And, okay, I understand. I understand you're going, I went to school for this. I'm making my living at this. And it's somebody gets their advice from AI and it's wrong legally. Who do you sue or who do you take? I get the point. But at the same time, it's like, you can tell what they're really trying to do is save their income revenue.
Right. Well, even with those Waymo autonomous cars, they're basically using AI to have driverless cars and run the streets. What if they make a mistake and kill somebody? So who's actually responsible? Is it the AI company? Is it the person that put it in the car? There's a lot of these questions that have to be answered to make somebody responsible.
Right. Yeah. And that'll happen by going through the court system. So something will happen, somebody will sue, and then they'll set precedent, which is the lawmakers are trying to get in front of this stuff. I don't know if that's a good idea. I think it should be kind of worked out on its own, but that's what these guys like to do. They got to have control.
And it's way over their head is the problem. So.
Oh yeah. Let's move on to Duluth news. Where are we at right now? So it looks like parking is going up in downtown Duluth from $1.50 an hour to $2 an hour. That's a pretty big increase,
Yeah.
This is what happens when you face how many $1 million deficit? 10 million?
I don't remember the exact numbers anymore. But it's still
yeah, it's already hard to get people downtown. 50 cents an hour is not going to kill everybody, but it's going to be a lot of revenue they're going to generate. But the thing is, they're getting rid of all the parking meters too. So now you have to get an app and you have to use that app, or I think you go up to the machine and I think you can pay there with a credit card. I don't know if you can pay with cash. But you have to go. You know how many times I see people standing in front of those things, not understanding. They're not intuitive. They're not as intuitive as they should be. And especially when you get the older folks, they have absolutely no idea what they're doing with it.
Right. So Duluth has made the decision to make downtown Duluth even less crowded by raising the parking rates, making it more complicated. And my mom can't go down there. She doesn't understand apps on the phone. She's not going to understand how to pay for parking.
Yeah.
She's not going to go down there. She'll do that once, and then that'll be the last time, because it's too much of a headache, and they just can't do it. So just the brilliance behind our Duluth City Council of, hey, if we raise rates, we'll get more people downtown.
They'll free up parking spaces,
Yeah.
Yeah, and the having your phone, not everybody has a phone. It may sound crazy to people, but not everybody wants to have a phone or be tied to a phone or put their information into a phone.
Right.
As the SEAL team says, phones are tracking devices that you can make phone calls on. You happen to be able to make a phone call on.
Yeah, and then do you think the app company is gonna just all they want is your money? No, they want your information too. So now you have to give over all of your information to Park.
Mm-hmm. Where you are, what's your license plate number? Give me your credit card. It's a lot of information that is unnecessary because you should be able to put a coin into a meter and just pay for it. But they've been doing this very quickly. They've been getting rid of all the parking meters. I only know of a few on Michigan Street that are still left.
And those will be done this year
Soon.
sometime. So.
Right. All right. Moving on. So this is interesting for people that were listening to the Hermantown City Council signing non-competes and not knowing who it was for. It was Google. Google is the one that's trying to build a data center here. And I thought it was really interesting. There was a spot on there that said it would facilitate the expansion of clean energy and battery storage. And it was all going to be brand new. So I don't know if I necessarily believe that. I believe that they are going to raise the rates here and use the power from Minnesota Power. But right now they're saying they won't. I don't know of any guarantees of that I've heard of yet.
Right. And by announcing that Google's part of the AI center, what does that change?
Right. Good question. Why was it a secret?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely nothing. Who cares who owns it? It still boils down to, is it good for the environment? Is it good for the electric rates? Is it going to have a mental effect on the neighborhood? Blah, blah, blah. Who cares who owns it? So
Right.
now you know who owns it, but what does it change? Nothing.
Right.
So
yeah. I don't know why the secrecy. There must be some sort of strategic plan they have, but hasn't gone through yet either. So we'll see if if it actually happens or not.
Well, and then the state wants to put a 2-year moratorium on it for even starting. So
yeah,
we'll see if that goes through gets signed by Governor Goofball. So
I just noticed we were having a slew of comments, but they seem to have trailed off now. Somebody was very angry. So
yeah,
those are always fun to watch. Lester Park Golf Course. So there was a turnout. There was an open house for the future Lester Park Golf Course. And I'll read your big picture takeaway. Across natural resources, recreation, and housing, the dominant theme is people want the Lester site to remain primarily green, publicly accessible, ecologically functional land with recreation first, conservation baked in, and housing, if any, kept modest, low impact, and limited. There's very little evidence here of an appetite for intensive development. So what they want is a large park area that doesn't generate any revenue, actually costs us quite a bit because we have to insure it. Somebody has to maintain it. And since there's no businesses out on the East End anyway, they just want to have all the housing and all the parks over there. This is what I'm getting out of this. So if that's the case, and there's no, if I'm living in an area that has businesses that are generating tax revenue, my taxes should be lower than over there.
correct.
And that's the area I would represent. But at the same time, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't just have all the luxury and all the quiet space and all the park area and have no revenue coming in for businesses and expect to pay the same amount as somebody who lives over an industrial area. It doesn't seem fair to me.
So personally, what this is telling me is that the conservatives that live out east aren't showing up for these stupid meetings, because the people that are showing up are these do-good hikers, or the environmentalists.
Right.
So they're overpopulating the thing and making the city council believe that that's what they want, when we need to get the conservatives over there to say, hey, no, we want lower taxes. We want a business that's going to be creating revenue to lower our taxes.
I'll tell you,
We got to get the conservatives out to go ahead.
The liberals that are organizing, they are organized and they have a lot of time on their hands and they're very dedicated to making their voices heard. The Republicans or the conservatives that are out there typically don't have that kind of time. So what you see is these guys are very passionate about it. They'll make a lot of noise, but they don't want to pay for anything. They have absolutely no plan on how to pay for anything. So what it comes down to is they want everything and they want other people to pay for it. And that's a problem. There's a great opportunity out there to build housing, to have some restaurants, to have a hotel out there, to give people a place to go and generate a lot of tax revenue for the city as opposed to making the citizens do it. But if you don't have those businesses, don't act surprised when your property taxes and everything go way up, because you have to have businesses to pay for it. You have to have a balance.
Yeah, we've got to get the conservatives to these meetings and the city council meetings so they understand we want businesses there. We want to
Right.
bookend the east side of the town so we don't have to pay so much property taxes.
Right. And here's a comment that just came in, and I agree. We have jobs. We can't just keep doing, we have other things we have to do. We have full lives. And the problem is a lot of the people that are protesting this don't. They either don't have jobs or they don't. This is what they're so passionate about. I mean, I was there listening to these guys, and when we were in this committee, and they seriously just want everything to be free and top notch too. It's
right.
like, champagne tastes and beer budgets for this stuff. They want to have this, groomed park system where they can just go. And, if they fall and break their leg, emergency services come out and they'll sue the city for it. But you have to have some way to pay for it too. There has to be some kind of balance. And right now, from what I can tell, East End has so little businesses that they don't generate any tax revenue when it comes to that. And this would be a perfect opportunity. And it's out of the way too. I mean, it's in Lakeside, but it's across the river. It's isolated out. It wouldn't affect the people out there. It wouldn't have people driving through the city, wouldn't go through the neighborhoods. You take the highway there and then take, London Road and go right out there. That's the way people used to go for the golf courses. So I don't see I see a problem with this in that they're asking too much with no way to pay for it. Or it's going to come down to them paying more, right? All right.
Exactly.
Let's go on to Minnesota legislature. There's a slew of bills here that you put in, and I can't go through all of them, but if we're going to summarize them, it's basically, and we've got two representatives in Duluth. We got Leash Kozlowski and Pete Johnson. From what I can tell is they're on a mad dash to spend as much money as possible and to force businesses into paying as much possible, unionizing, and charging people for greenhouse, the mythical climate change program where if you pay the government enough, it'll go away. And Kozlowski is consistent with this, and you can kind of see, like I've said before, you can see a pattern to where she's going with this. This is what she wants. Pete just sponsors anything the Democrats say, apparently. He's either passionate about everything, or he's just being told, here's what you're going to vote for. Oh, yeah, I'll vote for it.
The only thing I noticed in Pete's stuff was he's an he's a firefighter, so he's doing a ton of firefighting stuff for their pensions and stuff like that. So he's basically, he's self-serving, one, the Democrat Party, and two, his interest, his own pocketbook. So.
But, the authority for certain federal agents to perform arrests being removed. So this is a direct response to ICE, right? This is a bill that Kozlowski and Pete are authoring.
Yeah.
$250,000 to help homeless people find jobs. That was to go to an actual NGO for Minneapolis. It's not even for the state. It's not for Duluth, and it's not for the state. It's for Minneapolis. Owners of firearms required to have liability insurance. So he's pricing out your ability to have your Second Amendment right to a weapon by making it so expensive you can't afford it anymore. They've already done it with ammunition. Now they're going to, increase the insurance. You have to have insurance on your house just in case the firearm goes off. Well, that's ridiculous.
Well, luckily they don't. The Republicans in the House will put a stop to all this petty garbage that they're introducing. So,
well, what's going to happen is there's nothing going to happen. They're tied right now.
Right.
They're 67-67. Nothing will happen in the House.
Yeah, they're just grandstanding right now, so for
Right.
their base. So
I had some, oh, yeah, the GOP, the Senate GOP, unveiled legislation to cap property taxes and require public approval for large increases. Wouldn't that be nice? So that's something I can
yeah,
see that's actually beneficial to us.
right.
You put on there HF 2687, ban corporate ownership of single family homes. Right. So Trump did an executive order on this, but yeah, let's solidify it here.
Yeah. And actually, the bill that was introduced is more intense than Trump's is,
Yeah.
where Trump's was only institutional investors, so a large group of people pool their money and buy single family homes. Well, this drops it down even a step farther below that,
Mhm.
where small corporations can't buy single family homes. So that would make it even better. So they're actually doing something that I can agree with myself.
Yep, yep. I can see the benefit to the people, which is what you really look for in these laws. It's not, here's a
Yeah,
specific group of people that I happen to be aligned with, and now they're going to get money from me. It's not charity. It's not kindness. You're taking money from people who work for a living. Take that money away from them and give it to other people so you can get votes. It's not right.
right,
And the government's role is not to feed everybody and not to house everybody and not to solve every world problem. Their main goal is to make the infrastructure available so that people have the ability to do that for themselves in an affordable way.
right. And it's almost embarrassing that the Democrats came out with their platform for the session based on affordability. It's
Yeah,
like you created this problem. You signed off on every single bill that made it unaffordable, and now all of a sudden, election time comes up, and you're all of a sudden on team affordability.
right. Not only that is, you know, they're introducing more. I mean, you look in these bills they're introducing, they're just siphoning more money out with no way to pay for it. And then a lot of them are, well, this doesn't cost the taxpayers anything. Well, wrong. Because when you force a business to increase all their payroll and increase all the benefits, they pass that on to us. So it's an indirect tax to us, but it's coming to us.
Correct.
It's maddening. It really is.
Yeah, just the number of bills that they introduce is just more
Oh,
regulation.
it's
It's ridiculous.
just hope you get one done, right?
Right.
All right. Tim Walz. I love Tim. Tim
Comedy
has
said,
been, there's been articles of impeachment filed against Tim Walz and Ellison. And you know what this is going to do? You know where this is going to go? Nowhere.
right.
It doesn't matter. It's crazy to think it will. You know, you got a tied house. It's not going to go anywhere. It's just, I guess the only good thing that you can say is at least it's on his record that somebody filed on him. But just like everything else, you know, with all this fraud, nothing happens. You get the low-level street people that are in jail, but the higher ups, they skate away. We're going to talk about a couple more of these articles down below. They've been Walz and Ellison have been in fraud hearings in DC. I don't know if you watched any of these. It basically comes down to they acknowledge some failures. Minnesota acknowledged officials acknowledged widespread fraud across programs. It's glad they're acknowledging it after they've been pounded with evidence about it. Walz acknowledges that Minnesota has faced repeated fraud scandals across a range of social services funded by federal taxpayers. Not just federal taxpayers, Tim, state taxpayers.
Right.
Even $1 is too much to have been stolen, Walz said, describing the fraud rings that are targeting government programs as sophisticated and moving a target. This guy, that sums him up right there.
Right.
The Feeding Our Future case, which federal prosecutors say involved $250 million in pandemic-era child nutrition programs diverted through fraudulent meal distribution sites, was one of the main focal points of the hearing. More than 80 people have been charged in connection with the scheme, one of the largest pandemic-related fraud cases uncovered in the United States. And how much will this cost Minnesota taxpayers? $430,000. That's just for him going out and testifying, right?
Well, that's for the last one. We haven't
Oh,
seen
that
the
was
bill for
previous one, yeah.
Yeah, that's for him and his team to go out there, plus the lawyer fees. So now there's two of them. He brought Ellison with them. So
Well, I'm sure they're
are we
separate.
yeah. So are we gonna have $1 million bill for those two to go, luxury stay out in Washington D.C.?
That entourage ain't free, you know.
Right. Ridiculous.
All right, we're going to move on to Minnesota news. And here's what I was talking about when nothing's going to happen. FBI brought in 4 SWAT teams to take down a massive fentanyl ring. And, and when you take those things down, you're risking a lot. So what did the judge do?
Yep.
Let him go. Ankle bracelet. I mean, if you don't have to bring up this site, but if you go through here, the guy's flipping off the camera, he's just a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is why it's frustrating. And I'll do a preview. I'll just say what we're going to talk about later. But the Biden auto pen stuff, nothing's happening. No charges. Nothing will be done.
God, no.
It's just Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton go and testify in Congress. What's going to happen to them? Nothing. It's just a pattern here. Just nothing ever happens to these guys.
Yeah, and who got fired for the Feeding Our Future scandal? Well, no one lost their job because of that.
No. Well, then this next one is this guy went out there and he was vandalizing Teslas during his work hours. You know what he got? A 1-day suspension. Poor guy. I mean, he's got a day out of work. He was said, "Well, I wasn't doing it on my time. I was on time off when I did it. I was on a break out vandalizing cars." Why are we even employing people that vandalize cars?
Right.
He's a state employee. Why do we have people in the state employ that vandalize freaking cars? I don't care why they did it. It's just mind-boggling, and it's just maddening.
And I heard he was part of the fraud prevention team. So he was investigating fraud in the state. So even better.
Perfect. I popped the next one on here because you hear all these people that were complaining about ICE agents coming in here, and they were complaining that they were getting roughed up because the ICE agents weren't trained well enough. So now the Minneapolis Sheriff's Department is doing it, and they are not taking it easy on these guys. So there's a link here that we'll put on here, but a couple people messed with the wrong state employees and they went down hard. So, okay, you got what you wanted. There you go.
You got your attention.
Yep. You got what you wanted. You wanted the state employees to be doing this, so I hope you're happy. I mean, they rang that woman's bell too. I mean, jeez.
Yeah, and they got arrested too. You can see them zip tying them.
Yes. Yeah, they did get arrested. Yeah. They're not.
Well, I'm sure if you can deal drugs and go home the same day, I'm sure this won't inconvenience you too much.
Just get a free meal, man.
Yeah.
All right. St. Paul, Minnesota Wild announced $600 million framework for Grand Casino Arena. What's this about, Dave?
Well, if you remember, we talked about this last year or 2 years ago, that the Minnesota Wild wants to renovate the hockey rink, and they wanted $750 million. Well, now they only want $600 million to do it, and the state would only have to come up for $200 million to help them out. So they didn't really go into the exact plans on how they would renovate a brand new building, but they're back looking to the city of St. Paul to pay for them.
So we got to pony up $200 million so they can make money
pretty much.
through a half-cent sales tax. Another nickel and dime kind of thing here.
Yeah, but the boys' state hockey tournament, they're using the stadium right now, so that's that's 50 million that they should be paying, shouldn't they, for a couple of hockey
Right.
games?
Equity, baby.
That
They should be paid as
charge
much as the pros.
Yeah. Well, they're charging to get in, so basically it pays for itself. And then like a can of Mountain Dew, can doesn't show up, but $8 at the Wild at the arena.
$8. Wow.
$8.
That's a lot for a can of water and some sugar substitute, man.
Yeah. So another billionaire that's having the poor people help him out to make sure his billionaire's money doesn't run out.
Right. Well, we'll see if that goes through. It failed 2 years ago. Hopefully, I don't want to vote against it. I'm just saying that why does it have to involve taxpayer money? It's your stadium. You've got your rich guys who are playing there, just like a football stadium. Right. These guys are making hundreds of millions of dollars now. Why is the taxpayers involved at all? They should be just building this stuff themselves. They obviously have enough money. Same old cycle. And our last news for Minnesota, the federal government arrested 12 people linked to a family mob. This is in Minneapolis, clearly. And it led to the removal of 3.5 million lethal doses of fentanyl from the streets. So good job, federal government. State will just let them go.
Well, the state already let one of them go. We just showed it's part of that same thing that we just showed the guy getting released for no reason. But
it's good to know that our elected officials and judges will do everything in their power to make sure the criminals get by without having to pay any cost for this.
Well, I mean, where are the protesters on this one? I mean, the federal government removing meth from the streets, that's horrible, I think.
Yeah, right. That sounds like a king.
Men.
That's what kings do, Dave.
Oh, yeah. They should be able to smoke meth anytime they want. So
yeah, why not? Free country, right?
Exactly.
All right. We're going to go on national news. So a guy named Owen Argueta is facing up to 140 years in prison after he was reportedly caught placing 20 homemade explosives near the Liberty Memorial in Kansas City. And he has an ICE detainer hold. So remember when we talk about just one life saved? This is what we're talking about.
Right.
And, 20 explosives. So he was trying to damage as many people as possible in a horrible way. And he's going to go to jail for 140 years, hopefully. If he was in Minnesota, he'd be out on bail at this point with an ankle bracelet on.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't deport those people.
A small pivot. This is good news to me, and this is something that's been bothering me for a while. The Boy Scouts of America, they removed the name boys out of it, so it was just Scouting America.
The Scouts, yeah.
Although you still had Girl Scouts. You have Girl Scouts and Scouts. You didn't have Boy Scouts. So apparently the Department of War is heavily sponsored into the Boy Scouts of America. And Pete Hegseth, the leader of that, said he was doing a review to see if they were going to continue the Sports Scouting of America. And the Boy Scouts of America came with concessions. And what they did was they removed all of their DEI, or they said they would remove all their DEI stuff in order to get the changes made, in order to continue getting support by the Department of War. And he talks quite a bit about it in a speech here. I think it's on this site. But I think that's a good thing because boys need their own space. It used to be about, there was a religious component to it, but it was about learning how to do things like feed yourself, start a fire, build a tent, basic survival stuff. But it was a good place for boys to go to get some of that aggression out of what they used to do, because it was, play games and stuff like that, but also teach them life skills and teach them how to work with a team and be good people. And it's been slowly being eroded because they want to get the religion out of it completely. They want to have trans kids in there. They have to have girls in there. I got nothing against them, but they have the Girl Scouts of America. Let the girls go to the Girl Scouts of America. If the trans kids want to call themselves a girl, if they're still a boy, they should be going to the Boy Scouts. So that's just the way it should be, because the girls shouldn't have to put up with that.
Right.
And it's good news. I think it's really good. I want their name to go back to Boy Scouts. And we need these things. We need people to be teaching kids how to be grown men and adults, as opposed to perpetual children who don't know how to do anything with their lives. And unfortunately, that's what's been happening the last few years, where you have no life skills, you have no physical training. You used to get a badge for doing things. Like, I think even lifting weights, you could get a badge for. They don't mean anything overall, but it's nice to get that recognition, and it makes you strive for something. Learning how to read a map or do compass work, orienteering, that's a useful skill sometimes, and it's just interesting, and it builds your brain, if nothing else. So I was pretty happy to see this. And I guess the last thing we're going to talk about in this section is the Supreme Court, in a 6-3 ruling, because it always seems to be a 6-3 ruling. California's school policy keeping secrets from parents about their children's gender transitions is unconstitutional. So the Supreme Court has backed up the case that parents actually have rights to know what's going on with their kids. It's maddening to know that people believe that at school, they basically can control your kids, and anything goes with them. They can do anything they want, and the parents don't even need to know about it. So this is good. The 3 that voted against it, obviously, we got these 3 all the time. It's very rare to have a unanimous decision at the Supreme Court. We just had one about something else, but it's very rare.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, they're supposed to interpret the laws, and it should be 8-1, 99% of the time, because that's the way the laws are written, and they should be upkeeping whatever laws have been decided upon. So
you would think at least it would be a lot more than always basically 6-3 or one way or another. It's always you can only interpret that so many times. And I don't even understand. At this point, you would think they wouldn't have much to do, but it just keeps getting worse and worse every year.
Right.
International news. Euthanasia in Canada is going hog wild. So they're approaching their 100,000th. That's a hard word to say. 100,000 deaths by euthanasia. I actually read, I think it's like they have 2 or 3 times more people being killed than animals, like dogs, being put down. They're really on a trend. So at the same time, they say we need immigration because we don't have enough people in the country that can do the work. And at the other hand, they're killing them. Which is it?
Well, that's one way they solve their problems.
Yes, it is.
In the article, it said assisted dying had become a common end for people suffering from disability, isolation, poverty, and mental health issues.
Jeez.
So if you're too poor, they want you dead. If you're lonely, they want you dead. And if you have a mental health issue, then that should eliminate you from euthanasia, because you have a mental health issue. You would think. But no, they're often those people too. So it's just the whole thing is just kind of stupid.
Well, I have another link down below. Canadian children may be euthanized without parental consent. So they have this criteria where a kid can just go there and say, I'm old enough, I'm making my own decision, and I want to be killed. And the parents don't even need to know about it. You can't say anything about it. What a horrible thing. I can't even imagine that happening. I mean,
That's just
kids between the age of like 13 and 25 are, your brain's still developing. You're going through a bunch of wild stuff. And there's a lot of people in their 30s that look back. And I mean, I've heard them say, if I met myself in my teens, I probably would have punched myself in the mouth. You just learn how to be a different person when you get older, and you don't know that when you're young. So being able to off yourself with the government's help without parental consent is incredibly crazy. And I did have somebody that asked me when I was running 2 years ago, would I be against euthanasia? Would you sign something that says you're completely against it? And I said, I couldn't do it because I think there are some conditions that are very rare and horrible that people should be able to make that decision. But now I've gone over to the edge of, I said, it's too much. They just take an inch, you give them an inch, they take a mile kind of thing. I have to support not allowing it because it's just being abused in Canada. You can see what's happening up there.
Yeah, even some of the diseases that are horrible to live through, like ALS or something like that. We've already established on this show that they are making great strides towards ending a lot of these. We talked about that one about the diabetes. Using stem cells. It's like, well, even if you have ALS, yeah, it's a horrible thing to do, but you never know. Maybe in a year they could figure it out.
Yeah.
You hang it on a year and you'd be okay.
The depression one is the worst. People get depressed,
Right.
They want to kill themselves. That's not right. I mean, you can't state sponsor that. It's incredibly dangerous. All right, I'm going to move on to a more fun topic. The UN is saying they're going to run out of money. That's a shame.
Great. Yeah.
That's too bad. So they're saying that states haven't been paying their dues. So, and I can't hear the voice on there, but he's basically saying they're going to run out of money, and I can't wait for that to happen. It's an unelected organization that imposes international laws on a sovereign nation, the United States. You got to be kidding me.
Right.
They've done nothing. They're like the League of Nations. They're just basically the same thing. It's a way to suck money in from other countries and just to have their policy meetings. I've never seen really anything good come out of the UN. But the worst part about being in the UN, though, if you're in the military, they make you wear those Easter egg blue helmets.
All right.
I mean, you can pick those out of a lineup, no problem. You're just putting a target on their head, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those militaries you don't want to be involved in because you have no authority. You have no homeland. You're just going by the authority of some unelected nobody.
Yeah.
So
you're being led by committee. That's always
right.
the best way to do it. Nobody really is in charge. You have like 17 people with different agendas telling you what to do and where to go. And they really, really don't care about you whatsoever. All right. Last thing in this section, Germany. They went to their Supreme Court and they said that you cannot put people in jail for insults. So it's a huge First Amendment, or not a First Amendment for Germany, but a free speech win for Germany, because they were putting people in jail left over right because of calling a politician an idiot. And my God, so Germany is actually going in the right direction. Britain is still going down the wrong way, but Germany, at least, it's good to see that they're making these kind of decisions. So good job, Germany.
Yeah, they're doing better than Canada is.
Canada, yeah, Great Britain. I
saw
a thing too.
They just find that one guy $750,000 for saying that there's only two genders.
Right. Yes.
Oh,
It's good stuff,
really?
man.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going on to health and fitness. We like to end this with health and fitness because we're big advocates in people staying healthy and young people, especially getting into physical fitness to help their mental capacity and physical capacity. But it isn't always what we focus on. So now we're going to talk about two different things. RFK Jr., he's head of the Health Human Services, has a new initiative to teach Americans how to cook again. So what he's trying to get across is you can make food better and cheaper than going out to fast food and to restaurants. And he's absolutely right. And as prices started skyrocketing, I hardly go out at all anymore. We cook at home and it tastes better. It's better for you. We know the ingredients going into it. So, and where I'm at now, the neighbor cooks for us quite a bit. I'm very happy about that. But that's all home cooked food.
Well, yeah, and then all the processed food you get from restaurants, there's so much salt in them.
Yes.
They're just really bad for you. So,
Mhm.
even when you go to the grocery store, check out the contents. Make sure you can read what's in the ingredients. Make sure there's not too much of anything that's bad for you. So,
I became that annoying person in the grocery store that spends 2 hours there because I have to read all the labels of what I'm getting.
yeah,
And my wife, she's like, "Oh, this looks good," and then she gets this sad look on her face and hands it to me, and it's a 50-50 shot of like, no, or yeah,
yeah,
okay, I mean, she could still get it if she wants, but it's after I've looked at it, I'm not eating that. It's kind of takes
you're
the
right.
fun out of it. And the last thing on health and fitness is Texas to ban candy, soda from SNAP purchases starting April 1st. I think that's the right thing too. If you have extra money actually to spend on this kind of stuff, you probably shouldn't be getting SNAP because it's not supposed to be. And I'm not trying to make a punishment. I'm not saying that you can't have tasty things even if you don't have a lot of money, but you shouldn't expect people to fund that because again, that's taking money from you, taking money from me, and giving it to somebody else so they can have something I wouldn't endorse them having. And it's not
Right.
fair to us.
It's there for necessities, not candy is not a necessity.
Right.
It's to keep you
If
fit.
I'm being taxed and what you're saying is, hey, these people are eating. They got rice and beans and some kind of meat or something so they can survive. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I can deal
Yeah.
with that. When they're putting Cheetos in there, I don't buy Cheetos because they're too freaking expensive. Like $8 a bag now for them. So if I don't get
Right.
them, why am I supporting you getting? It doesn't make any sense. I'm not trying to punish people for being poor. I'm just saying if you want to have that stuff, make enough money, get off a SNAP, and then I don't care what you buy at that point. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's been crazy because even the owner, the CEO of Doritos was starting to realize that a large bag of Doritos was more expensive than a 1 pound steak. And he
Really.
was like, that, yeah, that can't happen. We need to change that because
Yeah.
that's way too expensive for a bag of chips. This is a luxury item. Doritos are a luxury
Well,
item.
I don't care how much luxury items are. I just don't want to pay for them for people. You
Right.
know, I don't care. If Cheetos are more expensive than a pound of steak and you're eating the Cheetos instead of the steak, hey, that's your choice. But don't do it on my dime. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right. We got to the end here. Let's talk about the word of the day. Word of the day is proxy war. Dave, bring us home. What is it?
Well, I've been I've been watching the wars, and I heard of people talking about a lot about the war itself and if it's a conflict or it's a war. I heard some people call it a proxy war, and I wanted to double check what a proxy war is. And a proxy war is a conflict where two opposing sides are supported by external powers, which provide military aid or resources without directly engaging in the fighting themselves. This type of warfare allows larger nations to influence conflicts while avoiding direct confrontation. So, when the United States was given money to Ukraine, it's us being in the war without actually being in the war. This stuff with Iran, it's just a war because we are involved. The United States is involved with everything having to do with bombing Iran. It's just a war. This proxy war is it. You can't call it a proxy war because it's not a proxy war. Like I said, Ukraine would be an example of the U.S. being involved in a proxy war because we're giving weapons and money to Ukraine without actually putting feet on the ground. So I thought it was interesting to kind of point that out and straighten out that mess of, when you listen to the news.
I think a classic example of a proxy war was the Korean War. You had the United States government. I know they had boots on the ground, but at the same time, it was the UN. But it was South Korea was the United States and the Allies. North Korea was China. So it was actually a fight between the United States and China, but it was in Korea. So that's a great example of what a proxy war looks like. Vietnam would be another one.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. We got through it. We're going to be taking next week off. I'm going to be traveling again. It's my last day of work before I have to head back. So then we'll be right back here, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on the 19th. So anything else to go over, Dave?
No, I mean, by the mid-March, we should be getting into full snowstorm season again. So it'll be a nice welcome back for you.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I can't look. I last time I came back, there was the amount of time I was gone, there was zero precipitation in Duluth. I mean, it was nothing. And then within, I think it was 12 or 18 hours, we had feet of snow on the ground. So I'm hoping to avoid that this time.
Actually, I think there's more snow on the ground right now than when you left. Because we've got because of the blizzard and the 64-mile-an-hour winds, we've got drifts that are pretty uncomparable. So
yeah.
And then I had to go to Wells Fargo up by the Mill Hill Mall yesterday, and their snowbanks for plowing the driveway are still gigantic and in the way. So
yeah, well,
yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in the next week or so, but it's still going to be here.
All right. Well, all right. I think that's all we got. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Like and subscribe. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for joining.
Perfect.